The reviews are in, and we're going to tell you what they are. He's Todd Vandenberg, I'm Rob Steele, and we're going to start this week with Wanda Vision, which finally has a distinct episode count, because when it first came out, I heard it's going to be an 8-episode series. 8 episodes. It's only going to be 8 episodes. There's 9. That kind of became official this week that, there's going to be 9 episodes. Yay! Because this is kind of fun, and I don't want them to wrap it up too quickly.
True.
There was, was it 7 that came out yesterday?
It was.
Yeah, okay. Or recently. Depends on when you're listening.
Yes.
We found some weird stuff in this episode because now we've got some of the people from the outside, they're back on the inside, and we've got a new superhero that some people know and some people have forgotten about, and I'll admit I had forgotten about until this series started anyway. Where do you want to start with this? Because I've also got the most bizarre Easter egg of all time to throw into this.
I think we can start with the fact that I think this is a fantastic addition to the MCU. This is one of the best things Marvel has done. I mean, I am including Endgame. Not saying it's better than Endgame, but this is so much better than what I expected. I thought it was going to be good, because why wouldn't you expect Marvel would produce something good? But this ranks up there with their best movies to me. I mean, this has been so well plotted, acted. I mean, seriously, Elizabeth Olsen has knocked it out of the park in some of these episodes. I mean, she's doing some incredible work. This is not the kind of stuff you'd expect in a, quote, comic book movie.
I was expecting this to be absolutely horrible. Because I looked at the premise and went, really? But it has turned out so much better than I expected.
Yeah, this is easily one of the best things on television, and we're not just talking about our little bailiwick, because we usually talk about superhero and fantasy movies and stuff. This is just awesome work. I do want to mention that a lot of people were expecting, because they talked about the engineer, because Monica Rambeau needed an engineer to help out, and a lot of people were going, oh my god, it's going to be Reed Richards. It's going to be John Krasinski. Oh my god, this is awesome. It's like, and they're disappointed when it wasn't. But do you really think the engineer would show up? Would an engineer be a major in the army? Probably not.
I mean,
the top engineer. We're talking about the top
engineer.
This is not the engineer. I don't think it's going to be John Krasinski, but this isn't the engineer. Clearly, this is someone that Monica Rambeau had worked with a lot. They had a close relationship. You could tell. She said, well, did we get your specs? And she said, did we get your specs? Not did I match your specs? Did I meet your expectations? At no point does she say, look what I did, which the engineer probably would say. So that wasn't the engineer, so calm down. Does that mean we're going to see the engineer eventually? Maybe not. Does it mean it's going to be Reed Richards? Probably not. But all these people going ballistic over, oh my God, I wanted it. It doesn't matter what you wanted to begin with, because it's not your story. If it's your story, write it.
Right.
So, the disappointment, this wasn't like a major plot point. It's not like they made Wanda turn out to be, I don't know, Lucy Ricardo or something. That would be a weird thing. So.
Actually, I think they did that a few episodes before, but
Yeah, in the very first one. So, but at least, she was just playing that role. So people get kind of weird with their expectations of how things are going to work when they don't play out exactly the way. It's like, in the first place, that wasn't the person that you thought it was going to be anyway. And in the second place, it's their story. And if you could write a better one, you should have been writing, because I'd be damn sure you wouldn't be able to, because this has been fantastic so far. But I will... When we talk about episode 7 in depth, I will talk a little bit more about something that, to me, was kind of underwhelming.
Oh, we're already here. Let's go ahead and do it. What was underwhelming? I know it wasn't this Easter egg that I'm going to get to in a minute.
No. The big reveal that Agnes
the big reveal that we already knew about from IMDb. If you look up who everybody is playing, and someone is listed as Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, exactly. That wasn't exactly. So for people who aren't in depth in the universe, it's like, okay, maybe it was a big reveal, but that was So it didn't have the big twist that every other episode has had so far. I mean, I'm not saying that was a bad move or anything. It was just
the song was wonderful.
yes. It was. Y'all should have done a better job of protecting what was going on in the series if you wanted this to be a big gut punch reveal like almost everything else has been. So it didn't have quite the wallop that episode 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 all had. I mean, I like the way it went. So my complaint isn't that, oh, it's Agatha Harkness. It's the fact that you let that get out, that it was Agatha Harkness all along. Not in the series, but in the real world where we're all watching this, assuming this is a real world and Wanda's not controlling us, or someone's controlling Wanda to make it feel
we're all
like
in the Matrix.
Controlling us.
Anyway.
We'll find out. But yeah, so, but the way it was done, I thought was excellent.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to get to this Easter egg because it kind of introduces some characters that we have not seen in the MCU yet. And I normally would have heard this and blown it off. But I looked into it a bit, and it's so weird that it cannot be a coincidence. It could have been, but it's just weird enough. Because there was a thing in this episode where we were shown a series of clocks, where the clock changed a few times. But Did you notice that the time changed?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, did you notice what the hands on the clock were doing? What they spelled out, kind of.
I didn't pay attention to what the times were. No.
You see that's the thing. It's not even about the times. It's the position of the hands, because someone who has entirely too much time on their hands. I'd like to be making that a pun, but I mean, they have too much time to have figured this out. But someone had to have written this in the first damn place. Mm-hmm. If you take the hands where they are and translate all these clocks into semaphore.
Oh my God.
The people who use in Navy who put their flags in different positions to spell things, the clock spelled out X-Men.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
That is a very, very deep Easter egg.
That is deep.
And quite honestly, I don't think this was discovered by someone out in the wild. I think Marvel released this themselves because someone was really proud of the fact that they figured out what X-Men was in semaphore and snuck it into the clocks.
As they should be.
And kind of went, hey, look what I did.
That's pretty slick.
That's a deep Easter egg. I
just came across another Easter egg, which is pretty funny when they were showing all the Wanda titles initially, when it looked like it was just going to be the Wanda show, and then it's actually Wanda Vision. That the license plate they showed just said Wanda, had a number at the top, 122822, which 12/28/22 happens to be Stan Lee's birthday. So these guys are working, and gals are working overtime on putting in little tiny Easter eggs all throughout the thing, which again is just one of the other amazingly fun things.
Happy Lent, everyone, but just to throw that out.
I'm not giving up WandaVision.
I'm not either. Although a lot of people have also speculated that Doctor Strange is going to show up at some point during this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he is.
That would make a lot more sense than Reed Richards.
It would, but
just as a toss off. Oh, he's the engineer. It's like Marvel is littered with scientists, and to put Reed Richards in WandaVision, in a very minor role,
it's Tony Stark.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Wanda brought him back too.
Might as well.
I hope I'm kidding. Anyway,
Doctor Strange makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Well, Wanda is supposed to be in Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness, and they did have an announcement for that this week, which I liked. The soundtrack is going to be done by Danny Elfman.
my daughter and I were talking about that yesterday on her birthday. Happy birthday a couple of days later. Just how do you feel about that? I think I know how you feel about that, but tell
Danny Elfman? I love
audience.
Danny Elfman.
Yeah, exactly. I think that says a lot about what kind of a movie this is going to be, that they want Danny Elfman to do the score. It's going to
be creepy and messed up is what it's going to be because...
Exactly.
Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman. Exactly right. Exactly right.
I do want to throw this out, though. If at any point in the MCU movies they bring in the character of Arcade, who I've always liked Arcade. He's kind of if you're not familiar with the character, he's this kind of I guess, rich playboy, but he's an assassin who has his own amusement park where he kills people. It's creepy, it's freaky, and if he's going to be in the MCU, I want Danny Elfman to play him. Because Danny Elfman looks like him anyway. I would just love to see that. I think that would be excellent. And I hope Danny's up for it. Please?
That would be pretty interesting.
But let's see. Other casting news coming out of Disney. And I thought this was interesting. After all the crap, yes, I'm switching to The Mandalorian, with Gina Carano getting kicked off The Mandalorian, there is now a petition going around to have her role, I've forgotten the character, what is it, Cara Dune? Is that right?
That's correct.
Have that character recast and have Lucy Lawless play it. And I thought, you know what?
I've seen that.
That's kind of cool.
My thought is, why are you going to recast a character? Who cares? Don't recast the character. Just, she's off someplace else and have another character.
That's the good news. Disney has announced they're not gonna.
Yeah, why would
they're not recasting Cara Dune? They're actually. I'm going to make it even worse for Gina Carano. Anyway, there was going to be a Cara Dune spin-off series that was going to be announced in December when they announced all the other stuff.
Right.
And well, thanks to someone posting all these transphobic, anti-mask, anti-vaccination, pro-insurrection, all her other crap that she posted. Mm-hmm. Disney went, yeah, you know what? You kind of screwed that up to the point. And I thought this was interesting that the Cara Dune action figures have been canceled.
Right.
Like,
pretty bad when you've gone so far. Hasbro doesn't even want to deal with you. Yeah. All of her other crap, and they put up with all the other crap she put up. But when she came out and said, like, well, your conservatives are being treated like Jews in Nazi Germany, that was kind of the last straw.
And the camel said no.
Yeah. So, it isn't cancel culture, it's accountability. Yeah. And if you're going to compare the fact that you're representing a corporation, whether you like it or not, we all do. We all represent who we work for. Just some of us have larger platforms, Gina, than others. So you have a certain responsibility not to say incredibly insensitive, stupid shit. So when you say that you're being held accountable for your opinions and that makes you equivalent to a Jew in Nazi Germany, last I checked, you're not in a concentration camp and your family hasn't been carted off and gassed to death. That was the comparison you're making, whether you know it or not. So, unbelievably.
Tune in to the next Nikki X Happy Hour. No,
yeah. It's
I'm sure we'll be talking about that on that show.
Bye-bye. Anyway,
other Disney news. They released a trailer for the Cruella de Vil, it's not a prequel. Is it a prequel?
Looks like a prequel.
Pre-movie origin story. To me, it looked an awful lot like if Disney had made the Joker film. Because honestly, the quality is nice. It looks fine, but it doesn't look fun or entertaining. It looks like you're going to walk out of it the same way you would walk out of the Joker, that was interesting. I'm not sure I quite needed it.
Yeah, of course they're looking to expand the villain story like they did with Maleficent. Is like kind of a big difference. Is Maleficent is the horrible thing she did. She didn't go and skin dogs to make a coat. So I don't really see that this is going to be a sympathetic character that people are going to want to follow. Just like you said, from the trailer, it looks like it's probably a very well done movie, but there's kind of a central flaw there. Like, I don't know that it doesn't fit the Disney mold. You know, I mean, it's like, yes, we have watched movies about Hannibal Lecter, not a likable person, obviously, right? It's like, I get that. But does that really the kind of movie that Disney would be making? Does that fit their core audience? Doesn't really seem to. Seems like they kind of missed the mark on this one.
I mean, she's, when they do the polls of the worst movie villains ever, she's in the top 5.
Yeah.
Pretty much consistently on all these polls because she's an evil person who wants to skin dogs to make a coat. And that's as dark as Disney needs to get. And this looks like it went farther.
Yeah, I would be this. If anything, this seems like this would be on Hulu, which is where they're going to put the dark stuff. So, yeah, it just seems like the concept is just like wrong.
Well,
not for Disney. Could be
kind of goes with another trailer, which I thought was also. Well, actually, it was better for what it was, but it's not Disney, and that's the Mortal Kombat trailer that came out.
Disney might as well make a Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah,
it's the same kind of thing. It's like, that doesn't work for your brand. Having said that, Mortal Kombat movie.
It looks pretty good.
Looks damn good.
A lot better than the first one, which, Alan, I got to admit, the original Mortal Kombat, the first, not the second one.
Yeah.
The first one looked excellent for its time.
Really like the first one.
The first one was fun.
First one is entertaining. The acting is overall pretty damn good, and some of the actors are excellent. Not Sonya Blade, but that was one of the few things they got right in the second one. But yeah, but this one looks really, really good.
This one looks like. I mean, we'll find out. The trailer is rated R.
Yes.
Because it's Mortal Kombat. There's going to be a lot of blood involved because there was in the games. And I will say that I think that the games have gotten a bit too bloody and a bit too graphic for my taste.
I haven't played the games in a long time. But I mean, they started off pretty gory.
Yeah. So expect blood. Not everyone's going to live through this movie. Hint, hint.
Yeah, really.
I don't think everyone lived through the trailer. So
no, they didn't. One thing I really liked from the trailer is that even from the trailer, it's obvious that we've all seen movies as like, oh, we're going to make this as gory and graphic as possible. Eli Roth, hint, hint. But there's no story there. There's nothing worth following. Just from the trailer, you can tell there's some interesting plot lines going on. So when a trailer is emphasizing that over the violence, I'm really impressed. Now, maybe all the plot there is in the trailer, which won't be too good. But
yeah,
I appreciate that they are making a movie. They're not just making, let's make a movie full of blood and gore, and that's going to be enough. It's like they're making it bloody and gory and graphic because it fits the source material.
And I forgot to write this down. It's coming out in April.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
So good stuff.
As opposed to this next movie, which I'm really looking forward to this because it looks interesting. And it was supposed to come out last year. Damn you, COVID. Ghostbusters Afterlife. There was news this week. Actually, a couple things. The good news is it's got a rating. It is PG-13, so whatever that means for it. The bad news is it's still not coming out until November 11th. And this was supposed to be out May of last year. But there's two weird things about saying it's coming out November 11th. One is that a lot of places are still listing it as coming out February 12th. Which is last week, and it's not here, so catch up. The other thing is November 11th, that is 1 week after Marvel's Eternals film comes out. That's not a good time to release a movie.
No.
So I'm kind of worried that it's not going to do as good as I think it has the potential of doing.
That does
Because
make
it
you
looks like
wonder.
a really good, fun movie.
Does make you wonder, is like, why did they move it to that slot? Unless maybe they didn't somehow realize that was happening. Because
I figured it out.
I have another reason that Marvel's Eternals should be really, really big, and we'll get to that.
Okay. Let's see, other news that I don't entirely understand this. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. Moving over to TV for a minute, I think we all know that CBS really loves NCIS.
Apparently they do.
So NCIS, which is in DC, and then there's NCIS Los Angeles, NCIS New Orleans. Well, here comes another one, NCIS Hawaii, because Hawaii Five-0 and Magnum just aren't enough for the series of islands. Do we need an NCIS Hawaii? I mean, I know that's going to make the money. It's going to be popular for the first at least 2 seasons until everyone goes, I've had enough.
I have an unpopular opinion, I'm sure, but one NCIS is more than enough for me. So,
I mean, I kind of like NCIS, and its spinoffs they're not horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of it. But that's not the only show they're spinning off. And I want to ask you if I'm getting this correct. They have a show called FBI. Okay, fine. And that means they get to wander around the country and do FBI stuff. They're making a spin-off called FBI International. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the CIA?
They may have a unit which cooperates with organizations like Interpol or something. So I would give them, and I don't know enough about it. So I'd say, okay, fine. Maybe they're liaisons with Interpol or something. But still, yeah, why wouldn't you make it the CIA or Interpol or whatever? But it's because FBI is apparently successful, so they got to stick with the brand and piggyback on that.
I mean, I guess they can.
And I'll also say I care not a whit about it because I've not seen FBI, and I'm not going to because
I haven't either.
Plenty of good things to watch. There's far too much good things to watch to waste time on a rehash of a show that was out in the 60s. It's like, yeah, I don't care. Called The FBI. So, yeah.
Well, FBI International, now they can wander everywhere, all over the planet, including Nomadland. That's a segue.
So clever. Yes, I did watch No Man's Land, and I'm glad that it's finally available. It's out on Hulu, and this is one of the top Oscar-nominated films that are out there by reputation. The film itself and Best Actress for Frances McDormand, and I can say the reputation in both cases are definitely worth it. This movie is great. It is simply about a woman who's loses her home. She lives in Empire out west, and there used to be a gypsum mine there, and they were making drywall products, and production slowed down, and eventually the plant closed, and it was one of these little towns where basically it's a one company town, and once the plant closes, that's it. The town just kind of dries up. And lost her husband as well. So then she loses her home. That's kind of what happens when your income disappears. So she has a van and just takes to the road, hence Nomad Land. One of the many interesting things about this is based on a nonfiction book called No Man Land, which is about people who have lost their homes and they just take to life on the road. They live in vans or RVs, and they just travel around the country from seasonal job to seasonal job. One of the first things she takes is she's working for Amazon at a giant warehouse, but it's only a seasonal gig because it's the Thanksgiving holiday, Christmas sales thing. And then once that's over, that's it. The job's gone. Then she moves on to the next place. A lot of really odd background stuff about this is Frances McDormand actually went and worked in these jobs. Each of these jobs that's shown, she actually worked in these jobs for a month or two, every single one of them. So she would get the feel of how it would be. She lived in a van off and on. She actually came out with a quote saying is like she realized that it was actually easier to pretend to be bone tired and worn out than to actually be bone tired and worn out when you have to film a movie. So she did take some time off and live the life of a person who is not just working themselves to death to stay alive. Although she did do that for quite a bit. And almost everybody in this film, other than her, almost everybody in this film, are people living that life. They are the people who actually just travel around the country. They get a seasonal gig. That one dries up. They go someplace else. They're harvesting sugar beets up in Idaho. I mean, just going around and around and around. Especially considering that the acting is absolutely terrific throughout. David Strathairn, I can never say his name correctly. As far as I know, he's the only other professional actor in this film. Everybody else is just someone living that life, basically playing themselves, and they're terrific. It's one of these. Has a bit of a slow pace, but it's just an amazing, awesome character study of just life, day by day life. Just shows the impact that our modern society has on so many people. And it does have this wonderful personal journey. Another one of the things I should say I really like about this film, Chloe Zhao is the director. Guess who's directing Marvel's Eternals? Chloe Zhao. So the fact that she can turn out a movie like this, I mean, this is just such a deep, amazing, wonderful film. And oh, by the way, I'm going to direct another big Marvel flick coming out. I was looking forward to the Eternals anyway, just because, okay, this will be cool. And I'm not really that familiar with the characters, but I wasn't that familiar with the characters of Guardians of the Galaxy either. Just kind of a cursory thing. So yeah, I'm long past the point of thinking, oh, I don't know if this is going to work for Marvel. Of course it will. But back to Nomadland. Again, it's on Hulu now. Excellent movie. Frances McDormand is just like off the chain, crazy good, as she always is. But it's totally her movie, except for the fact that it also belongs to every one of these other people who are, I mean, there's plenty of extras, but these are supporting characters. And some of these performances are just probably because they're not performing. They're just being themselves and telling their story. So it's just a wonderful, absolutely amazing movie. Not the kind of flick we usually talk about, but man, it is a great movie. Absolutely one of the best movies of 2020, even though it's just getting out to most people now where you can actually see it. So if you are able to go see it at a theater and you can do so safely, yeah, do that. Otherwise, subscribe to Hulu because it's definitely worth it.
Hulu is cheap. Take it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I went somewhere a bit different than Nomadland. I'm still stuck in the martial arts film thing,
which is a good thing. Good place to be.
Now, if you listened to the show last week, you know that the media server I use in my house to stream movies throughout my house, not to other people, it died. I fixed it this week and I reloaded everything, and I noticed 2 films that I remember getting, and I put them on the server, and I forgot they existed. I never got around to watching them. And I went, you know what? I remember, there they are. I am going to watch those this week. And I'm not sure why I did. Because you remember, our subtitle this week, and for all the weeks, that's the thing for the show, is we watch movies so you don't have to.
Mm.
And I hate to do this to these movies because they're Bruce Lee films.
Ah.
Kinda. I'm talking about Game of Death.
Yeah. had a feeling that one was coming.
Which, if you don't know, it was filmed in 73 but didn't come out till 78 because this is the film Bruce Lee died during. And you can look up how that happened. I think it would have been
Early.
great if maybe they paid a little bit more attention to the production if you're going to bother to finish it. And I'm just going to come right out and say this. If you're going to watch Game of Death, jump to about an hour 20 into the film, because this is when Bruce himself first really actually shows up in the film.
Right.
There's a stunt double, kinda, and a lot of stock footage and an absolutely horrible voiceover. And I swear, I laughed my ass off at this. There is one scene at the beginning where they had what looked like a mannequin with a picture of Bruce's face taped to it.
I
because
believe
in 1973, Photoshop didn't exist.
I believe that's what they did.
I mean, it's the quality change is just hysterical.
Guy wears sunglasses a lot too.
Oh, well, that's the stunt double whose hair doesn't match. I'll get to that.
Yeah.
Jeez. Anyway, Bruce, kinda, he plays a character named Hai Tien, or in the English version, Billy Lowe. Because those names go together. Anyway, Billy Lowe actually is Bruce Lee, which is weird. The film starts with Billy filming the end of The Way of the Dragon. Kind of. What it really does is it shows the end of Way of the Dragon, the fight with Chuck Norris, but every so often cuts to scenes of a cameraman trying to film it because that looks realistic. Somehow Chuck Norris got into the credits for this movie just from this scene, but because this is the film Bruce died in and Chuck didn't like the idea, Chuck sued them for putting him in the credits. Weird.
As he should, because, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, Billy Lowe and his girlfriend Ann Morris, who is played by Colleen Camp, and might talk about her in a minute, they're being hounded by a crime syndicate who wants to take control of their lives or their finances or something. It's not entirely clear. Anyway, they both say no, and Billy fakes his death in San Francisco to get away from them. Therefore, the rest of the film takes place in China. And I say that with a question mark, because if it's in China, there's a lot of Australian flags around for China. Just saying. It's something I noticed. And I understand this film had a lot of issues. Like I said, this is the one where he was killed. Therefore, that you get that you should just go to that hour 20 mark and go to the video game kind of ish ending for the film, because there's a house to go get to the bad guy. Well, I'm not sure if it's a house. It's a building, and the first level, Bruce has to fight a series of grunts. So he fights the grunt in level 1, then he goes up the stairs to level 2, where there's another grunt, and there's more stairs, and level 3 has Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for some reason. Sure, why not? Level 4, there's a minor boss guy, but this was an unfinished scene, and this actually gets me to the big part that I had issues of with this film. Because if you're going to remake the film after your star has died, and you're going to use a stunt double, may I recommend using a stunt double that at least has the same freaking haircut? Because this stunt double does not look... I look more like Bruce Lee, and I'm fat. I mean, it doesn't work.
It'd be pretty easy to give the guy a haircut, too. Which is
I'm
just
shows
you the lack of attention.
Now I will give them credit for this. Billy Lowe, because it wasn't Bruce, because Bruce was gone, is in disguise for most of this movie. Because he's on the run, so he doesn't want to be recognized. And I will say this, most movies that have a spy-like character who goes disguised as himself. Yes, I'm looking at you, Mr. Bond. Regardless, the fight scenes are not that bad, but if you really want to watch a good Bruce Lee movie, I'm going to recommend picking just about any of the other ones, except this other thing. because I'm not entirely sure how, if Bruce died in Game of Death 1, how the hell is there a Game of Death 2 starring Bruce Lee? But there is, and honestly, I'll admit I didn't finish this. I tried watching it, and it
Nor
doesn't
should
work
you.
because there's a lot of leftover Bruce Lee footage, and a lot of stock footage, and it wasn't good. It was bad. This was really, really bad. Not Cats level bad, but it wasn't good. I'm going to try to short form this. You take all the stock footage, and you take over the leftover footage, and you put it together, and you come up with something that obviously is a money grab for the studio. That's all it is. It very quickly descended into well, actually, it didn't descend. It started at a C grade level martial arts film that was poorly dubbed, and then it got worse. So I'm sure there was a plot to this. At some point halfway through, Bruce Lee's character, Billy Lowe, died, and he was replaced with his brother, Bobby Lowe. What? Which I'm pretty sure was a sound effect in a video. Bobby Blow. Anyway, yeah, if you want to watch a film that's so horrible that you might laugh at it at its horribleness, go right ahead. But if you want to watch a serious martial arts film, yeah, this is not it. Actually, one of the things that got me on it last night when I was watching this was the bad guy of this film, and he might not even be the bad guy. I couldn't watch much after this. He lives in the Tower of Death because that's what people call their houses, the Tower of Death. It's not going to say, "Ooh, bad guy lives here." No, Tower of Death, where it's surrounded by two types of animals. One is lions. Lions are scary. I get that. He also has this little house on a hill.
Pigeons.
No. Better than that. That is where I keep my peacocks. They are trained to obey my every command, and he whistles, and hundreds of peacocks fly out of this little house. And if you look carefully, you can see some guy in the background going, "Give me another one," throws it out. "Give me another one," and throws it out. No, they're trained to his every command, and they fly down. I didn't think peacocks could fly, but apparently, whatever, man. And they all float down the hill, and Bobby Lowe at this point is looking at him going, "They're peacocks. Are they supposed to attack me now? What?" Wow. This was not a good film.
That's
Anyway, Game of Death 1 is on Amazon Prime if you're very interested. Game of Death 2, I can't find anyone that's streaming it right now. I'm sure it's on YouTube.
Nor should you. Yeah, I was going to say that the correct thing to do would be to go to YouTube and look for the Bruce Lee scenes in Game of Death, and that way you're going to be more entertained, because at least when Bruce Lee's actually in it, the fight scenes are interesting. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was one of Bruce Lee's many students, which is why he was in the film. And just the
height. I did love the height difference between the two, because Bruce gets in the room and Kareem stands up and Bruce goes, "Holy crap, you're tall."
Yeah, because Bruce is what, 5'7", I think, maybe 5'8", and Kareem, of course, is a little taller.
He was that tall. I mean, I was thinking Bruce was 5'6".
And their fight scene is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because Jabbar has he's not Bruce Lee level skills, but it's pretty interesting. And of course he has a little bit of reach. So just him throwing the leg kicks is just super fun. Would have been fun to see Kareem in MMA if they'd had MMA back then.
Nope. Bruce is 5'8".
5'8", okay.
And Kareem was 7 foot what?
7'4", I think.
Something like that.
A little tall. So yeah, that aspect of it, when Bruce is actually on screen, very, very cool. But yeah, if you want to see a good martial arts film
on screen,
yeah, watch The Big Boss, watch Fist of Fury, please watch The Way of the Dragon. Or you may see it called Return of the Dragon, because it was actually released in the U.S. after Enter the Dragon, even though it was filmed first. So you may find it as Return of the Dragon.
Enter the Return of the Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. Which is not
if
Return
it's got
of the
dragon
Fat
in
Dragon.
it and Bruce Lee, go for it.
Don't watch The Fat Dragon, though. Actually, I don't know. That might be fun, but that's a flick that's out, too. Surprisingly, I don't believe it stars Sammo Hung, because that would make sense. But, yeah, Game of Death, you want to stay away from. Game of Death 2, you totally want to stay away from. So that definitely lives up to our tagline.
If you're lacking in sobriety, go for it. You might get a kick out of it. That's a pun.
Watch almost anything. Watch almost anything with Donnie Yen.
See, there you go.
If you want to see a good martial arts flick, or the older Bruce Lee flicks, for sure.
Wait for the Shang-Chi movie coming back, or coming to
there you
the
go.
Marvel Cinematic Universe later this year. I think it's in June. I think.
Is it? Let's find out. Let's double check. Let's see if you lied.
Yeah, let's look that up real quick.
Let's mark that down as
We're at
Rob.
the end of the show anyway. We can look things up.
Rob lied again.
I did? Sorry. Yeah, it says 2021, but I don't have a specific date yet. Nope, there it is, July 9th.
Woo! You did lie. Considering I wasn't even sure if it was coming out this year. It's like much better than I would have done. So
Hey, see, I win.
woo!
And if you want to keep winning, as you should,
Don't watch Game of Death 2.
don't watch Game of Death. However, something you should do, keep wearing a mask because COVID is still out there. So my recommendation, as it is pretty much every week, stay home and watch a movie.
Captain, we're losing power in the warp engines.
I think we should be leaving now.
I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife.
And on that unusually harmonious bombshell, it is time to end.
I am very disappointed!
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful, but, it's a living.
And like that, he's gone.
Holy crimson skies